let's go straight to the newly appointed coach of the Melbourne Football Club, Paul Roos. Roosy, thanks for your time. Does it sound strange being introduced that way?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, if you'd have said that 12 weeks ago, I would have said it was very, very strange. But yeah, look, I've been warming to it, and actually today I've really enjoyed the day, just getting to meet the players and some of the staff and things like that. So probably today, that feels good.
Well, got Derm and Moons and Rowan to throw a few questions at you. That's probably the feedback I was getting from general people and a few of my mates was, and this is what I want you to convince us, that you didn't know all along that you were going to be the coach of Melbourne, because a lot of people think that you knew all along.
Yeah, that's probably surprised me a bit, because I tried to be really honest throughout the whole process, and I think I said today at the start of the press conference, there was probably 2 or 3 real key moments that led me to this. Certainly wasn't an easy decision, but it was really a gradual process, which only really finished yesterday at about 4 o'clock.
Roosy, Derm here, how are you?
Good, Derm.
Excellent. Now, what are you going to do with on the couch? Will you see that contract through as a coach sitting on the couch to the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm happy. The only thing, Mike texted me yesterday and said wanted to hold the press conference on the couch that night, so I couldn't really do that. So, no, look, I think from Melbourne's point of view, they're more than happy, and I enjoy it just to finish off the year, absolutely.
Good. Hey, we've all taken a look at various teams along the course of the season. I've got our own opinions on the Melbourne list. You would have formed an opinion, and that would be ongoing, and you'd have studied it in depth in the last 10 weeks. What do you need to do to this list before you even start coaching?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think probably the last 2 weeks more so, Derm, is just having a real good look at the games and watching them. There's no doubt. I think it's just midfield depth and run, and probably just teaching the players, what it's like to be a bona fide quality AFL midfield. So probably they wouldn't hurt to get some people in from outside, some other midfielders. Obviously need to look at who's available and so forth. But certainly their bigs look good. I mean, McDonald, Frawley and Garland down back, and you've got Dawes, you've got Mitch Clark, and you've got Jesse Hogan coming in, and then you've got some really nice floaters, Watson, Howe and that. So I think it's definitely in their midfield depth. And if you look at the way the game's played today, I mean, 2 great sides tonight playing, Sydney's got arguably the best midfield depth in the competition, and that means they're a very, very good side.
Absolutely, and that's exactly where I took aim at Melbourne. If you were to rank let's use depth, the most shallow list of midfielders, it would probably come down to Doggies, Melbourne and St Kilda. St Kilda they've got high draft picks they're getting time into, low draft picks that are, come 30 plus, but these kids are brave and tough. The Doggies have got father-sons in there and got a couple of old, really good heads in there. Melbourne have got one older, wiser head in there, Jones, and the rest are sort of flankers that come in. Will you trade for legitimate midfielders who then can step out? You understand where I'm coming from with the midfield bracket?
No, definitely. Look, I think hopefully there's some young talent that maybe hasn't been nurtured. I think that's why I'm really keen to keep Colin Sylvia, who's been there a long period of time, but he was a pick 3, and obviously clearly I want to keep Jack Watt. So I think there's some real upside. You've got Viney, you've got, just to name a couple, I mean, Tringo is a pick 2 and Jack Grimes. So I think there's some potential there, but equally I agree with you. I think, look I said today, maybe I haven't got my foot in the door long enough yet to make the decision, but certainly from my point of view, pick 2 would be on the table, because I think we need some quality midfielders from outside. And then when you put it on the table, it really depends on what's available, what teams are prepared to give up to get that low in the draft. And certainly from my point of view as senior coach, I'd be happy to float that out there and see what's available.
Roosy, it's Moons here, mate. Congratulations on the appointment. 3 years out of the game, and you've obviously been watching a lot of footy and knowing how much it's changed. How much do you think you need to change your game style? Do you think you need to evolve your game style or at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's why probably the senior assistant is really, really important, the person we pick to do that role, because I'm not naive enough to think that I'm up with the game as closely as an assistant coach or a senior coach that's worked intimately. But equally, I think the senior coaching role now is really a management role. You look at the staff that you put in place. I mean, you've got staff that can do stoppages. You've got staff that can do kick-ins. Obviously, the senior coach has got to set a game style. I mean, our game style will be very similar to that of Sydney Swans and, two-way running midfielders, all that sort of stuff. So I think I don't think that's changed. I think some of the fundamental principles have been a good player, but certainly that role means that senior assistant role is going to be really important, and some of the other assistant roles are going to be important. And I'm not naive enough to think that I don't need to take some counsel from some of my assistants, but I think the main role I see myself is setting standards and leading the way and putting good staff in and giving players roles and trying to get the best possible outcome for all the players and for the team.
Rowan here, Roosie. Congratulations. It was like Barassi Mark II there today. I hope the result's a little bit better.
So does Roosie.
Yeah. Can I just ask you, it was a very interesting part of that press conference where Peter Jackson was being asked, and you were asked about the priority pick.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've got a Melbourne hat on now, but I'm as hard as this is, can you remove it for a moment? If you were coaching another club, would you be campaigning fairly strongly against the idea of Melbourne getting a pick, given how spectacularly that they've buggered up their previous recruiting forays?
Yeah, I think there's two aspects, Rowan, to it. I think even Peter acknowledged that today. There's no question there's two aspects. If you look at purely on performance, there's no question that Melbourne deserve a priority pick. I don't think anyone would argue that. If you go over the last 4, 5, 6 years and you compare them to the priority picks of some of the previous teams that have got them, I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind they deserve a priority pick. But equally, as Peter mentioned today, we're aware of some of the discontent regarding the tanking. Let me assure you they won't be tanking from now on. I can guarantee that. So really it comes back to the decision for the Commission. But in terms of win-loss, there's no doubt that Melbourne are in a position to earn a priority pick.
What about the tradability of a priority pick? Do you, again, in principle, do you think if they are awarded a pick, you should be able to trade that? And, I mean, it appeared like what you were saying, that might be your preference.
Well, I think the problem maybe it does help the Commission make the decision, Rowan. If you sort of said to the Melbourne Football Club, look, we'll give it to you, but you have to make your best endeavours to trade it, it actually puts that pick back in the pool. And I'd be more than happy under circumstances to explore that, because I think if that's something the AFL, then it gives every club an opportunity to get it. Would we definitely trade pick one? I mean, you got to get it first. I guess that's the simple answer. But certainly, would be interested in trading if we got it and putting it back in the pool. If that was something the Commission was interested in doing, then that's certainly not out of the question either.
Roosie, just your passion for what you're going to do, given that you've signed for 2 with maybe an extra year as an option, to be going in already thinking about a successor, it is unusual. So can you just explain that in your thought process?
Yeah, I just think it gives the club certainty, Hutto, and that was probably something where it really turned for me when Peter came to me and said, look, what about the succession plan? We've seen it work really well at Sydney. You've been part of it. We've seen it now work with Nathan at Collingwood Football Club. I don't think there's any certainty when any senior coach, actually signs. You sign for 2 years, sign for 3 years. I think what this does for the player group is give certainty over a 5-year period, and it's something that they probably haven't had. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a senior coach coming in with a senior assistant that's going to take over. I'm big on it because I've seen it, I've lived it and I've breathed it. And when Peter put that to me, that's when I started to get really interested in the job.
One last one, just the captaincy for next season, Roosie. Have you got any thoughts on that at this stage as to whether you'll stick with the 2?
Yeah, look, my commitment to the 2 Jacks is to make them the best possible players they can be. And I think we'll go through a process of, with leading teams, vote for the leadership group, the players will vote for that, and then out of that, the club and myself and the board will ratify the captains. But my absolute priority for the 2 Jacks is to make them the best possible players that they can be.
And who are you voting for tomorrow?
Geez, I got to get back and watch the news, Dan. It's been a big day. What's on tomorrow?
Geelong and Fremantle, Roosie. Good luck, mate.
Yeah, well done, Roosie. Good luck.
All of us here that have worked with you this year, congratulations and best of luck. It's a big task.
Yeah, thanks, guys. No problems. Appreciate it.
Paul Roos, newly appointed Melbourne coach.